The world called him a visionary. Governments called him a savior. And in every newspaper headline, his name glowed like gold. Adrian Cole, founder of Solara Dynamics, the company that promised to bring clean power to every corner of the earth. At 42, he owned half the skyline of New York. From the penthouse of his mirrored tower, Adrian could see the city glitter beneath him, every light. A silent tribute to his success. He had everything most men dreamed of: wealth, respect, influence. Yet, the higher he climbed, the quieter his world became. His mornings began with a schedule, not a smile. His days were filled with voices that agreed with him, not understood him. And when night came, his office remained lit, because the man who sold light to the world feared the dark point. One late evening, as the city slept, Adrian stayed behind in his top-floor office, scanning the latest reports. Another record-breaking quarter. Another deal secured. He should have felt triumphant. Instead, his chest felt hollow, like the silence after thunder. His assistant Daniel knocked softly. "Sir, it's 2 a.m. You should rest." Adrian didn't look up. "The world doesn't rest, Daniel." When Daniel left, Adrian turned to the massive glass window behind him, his reflection staring back. For a moment, he didn't recognize the man in the glass. The eyes looked cold. The face, older than it should have been. Then something caught his eye. Down below, through the layers of city lights, he saw a small park, faintly illuminated by one of his company's solar lamps. Street vendor sat beneath it, laughing with his daughter as they shared a cup of steaming noodles. Simple. Ordinary. Happy that Adrian's chest tightened. He'd powered that streetlight, but not his own heart. The next morning, he received an award from the United Nations for outstanding contribution to global sustainability. Cameras flashed, politicians shook his hand, and the crowd applauded. But as he smiled for the pictures, he noticed a woman among the staff photographers. She wasn't taking photos. She was just watching him. Her expression wasn't admiration. It was sorrow, and when their eyes met, she quietly turned and walked away. That night he couldn't forget her face. Something about her, familiar, a memory he couldn't reach. He tried to dismiss it, but deep down he knew that moment was the beginning of something. A fracture in the mirror he called his life. 3 days after the award ceremony, Adrian found himself distracted during meetings, something that never happened. Numbers blurred on the screen. Words lost meaning. All he could see was her, the photographer who didn't take a single picture, didn't even know her name, but something in her eyes had stirred an ache he'd buried years ago. That evening, he asked Daniel to find out who handled the photography at the event. Few calls later, Daniel returned. "Sir, her name is Lila Morgan. Freelance. Doesn't work for any agency." Adrian frowned. "Address?" Daniel hesitated. "She lives in the East District. It's not the kind of place you go after dark." Adrian went anyway. The car rolled. Through narrow streets, past flickering lights and cracked sidewalks, a neighborhood far removed from his glass empire finally spotted her. Outside a small photo studio, closing up for the night, stepped out, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. "Lila." She turned, startled. Her expression shifted from surprise to something colder. "Adrian Cole," she said quietly. "I wondered if you'd recognize me." He blinked. "We've met." She smiled bitterly. "Once. A long time ago. But you were too busy building your kingdom to remember the people who helped lay its first bricks." For a moment, Adrian was speechless. Her voice carried something familiar, pain mixed with truth. Then she stepped closer. "You remember the Solara project in Green Haven? The one that failed because of funding cuts?" He nodded slowly. "It was years ago. A test site. We couldn't sustain it." "You couldn't sustain it," she interrupted, "because you diverted the funds to build your headquarters instead." Adrian's stomach twisted. "That's not." But before he could finish, she handed him an envelope. Inside were photographs, broken panels, dark houses, a child studying under candlelight. And beneath it, a photo of a man. Her father. He was the engineer who ran that project, she said softly. He believed in your dream, clean power for everyone. He worked day and night, even when you stopped sending payments. When the site collapsed, he couldn't handle the failure. He took his life. The world seemed to tilt. The sounds of the city faded until all he could hear was her voice. And in her eyes, the sorrow he saw at the ceremony, he finally understood why. I didn't know, Adrian whispered. Lila nodded. That's the problem. You never do. You build towers, but you never look down. She turned to leave, but stopped. You wanted to light up the world, Adrian. But somewhere along the way, you forgot to see the people living in the shadows. Then she walked away, leaving him standing in the dim light, the man who powered cities, powerless to fix a single broken promise. That night, Adrian couldn't go home. He drove aimlessly until dawn, haunted by her words. When he finally reached his mansion, the sunlight spilled across his spotless marble floor, but it felt cold, almost mocking. He sat alone in his study, staring at the photos again, her father's face. The broken panels. The little boy under. Candlelight, he realized something painful. The empire he'd built to change lives had also destroyed some. For the first time in years, Adrian didn't go to the office. He called Daniel. Cancel all meetings. Every one of them. Sir, are you, just do it. He drove back to the East District. The people there looked at him with suspicion. The billionaire in a black car, wearing guilt like a shadow, found Lila's studio closed, but through the window he saw old photographs of communities smiling under newly installed solar lights. Projects from before his company went global. Before. Greed replaced purpose. And as he stood there, watching those photos, he whispered, I forgot why I started. For days, Adrian disappeared from the spotlight. No interviews, no board meetings, no public appearances. The media speculated, health issues, business trouble, or perhaps a new billion-dollar project. But none of them guessed the truth. The man who sold light to the world was now drowning in darkness. He spent his mornings revisiting old files, canceled projects, unpaid workers, forgotten villages. Each document felt like a ghost whispering, you forgot us. And for every page he turned, his heart grew heavier. He called his CFO one morning. Reopen the Green Haven Fund, he said firmly. I want every solar unit rebuilt, full capacity. The CFO hesitated. Sir, that site's been written off for years. It's not profitable. Neither is a conscience, Adrian snapped. Do it anyway. He didn't care about investors, shareholders, or reputation anymore. He just wanted redemption. But redemption, it seemed, was not his to decide. A week later, headlines exploded. Inside Solara Dynamics, Billionaire covered up failed projects and suicides. The truth about Adrian Cole. Leaked photos. Confidential memos. Recorded calls. Everything exposed. Adrian stared at the television in disbelief. Every image, every report, it all came from Lila. The same woman who had handed him her father's story. The same woman whose pain he'd finally understood. He called her again and again. No answer. When he finally found her, it was at a press conference. Cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. Lila stood at the podium, calm but trembling. My father believed in a dream, she said, her voice steady. A dream that one man used to build his empire. But this isn't about revenge. It's about truth, because sometimes, truth is the only light that can heal the world. The crowd erupted, and behind the cameras, Adrian stood frozen. Every eye turned toward him. That evening, as the storm of headlines grew, Adrian sat alone in his office, the same place where it all began. The same glass walls, now reflecting a broken man. Daniel entered quietly. Sir, the board's meeting tomorrow. They might vote to remove you as CEO. Adrian nodded. Let them. Maybe it's time. He walked to the window and looked out, the city lights still shining. But tonight they felt different. Every glow reminded him of the people who still lived in darkness because of his choices, whispered, Maybe this is what I needed, to lose everything, so I can finally see. The next morning, Adrian held a press conference of his own. No teleprompter. Just him and the truth. I built Solara Dynamics to light up the world, he began, his voice echoing through the silent room. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing the people I was meant to help. Lila Morgan didn't destroy my company. She saved me from it. He paused, scanning the cameras. Today, I'm stepping down as CEO. All my remaining shares will be donated to rebuild every project I neglected. Solara belongs to the people now, not to me. Reporters gasped. He walked away before anyone could ask a question. Outside, Lila waited, uncertain whether to speak. He stopped beside her. You won, he said softly. She shook her head. No, Adrian. You finally did. For the first time in years, he smiled. Not the empty kind for cameras, but something real, fragile, human. He looked up at the morning sky, the light breaking through the clouds. Maybe this is what light was meant to be, he murmured. Not what we sell, but what we share.